Hello friends, I welcome you in the video lecture on design of pressure vessel part 1. So first of all we'll see the content of this today's video lecture. First we'll see the pressure vessel definition and its applications. Second, classification of pressure vessel, and at the last, design of thin cylinders. So in this video lecture we are going to cover these three parts. So first, pressure vessel. So definition of pressure vessel. Pressure vessel is a container used for holding gases or liquids at pressure above the ambient pressure. So it is a container which stores the fluids at pressure above ambient pressure. So pressure vessels are used in variety of industries. For example, petroleum refineries, power plants, chemical industries, and food industries. So these are the applications of pressure vessel. So classification of pressure vessel. Now first way of classifying this pressure vessel is according to the dimensions. So first is thin cylinder and second type thick cylinder. So these are the two types based on dimensions. So to understand this thin cylinders and thick cylinder concept, let us consider these two cross sections of cylinders. So this is the internal diameter of cylinder, and here it is a thickness of cylinder or wall thickness of cylinder. Similarly, for this second diagram, this is the internal diameter di, and this is the thickness of this cylinder, that is wall thickness of cylinder, it is small t. Now in order to classify this pressure vessel on the basis of dimensions, one ratio is considered for guidelines, and that ratio is ratio of internal diameter to the thickness. If the ratio of internal diameter to the thickness is greater than 15, that is di upon t is greater than 15, such cylinders are called as thin cylinders. Similarly, for this case also, there is a ratio internal diameter to the thickness. This ratio is less than 15, then such cylinders are called as thick cylinders. So this is the first way of classifying based on dimensions. If the ratio di upon t is greater than 15, it is called as thin cylinder. If ratio di upon t is less than 15, it is called as thick cylinder. Now the definition of thin cylinders. When the ratio of inner diameter of the cylinder to the wall thickness is greater than 15, the cylinder is called as thin walled cylinder or simply thin cylinder, that we have seen in the previous slide. Applications of thin cylinder. Thin cylinders are used in boilers, tanks and pipes. Thick cylinder. When the ratio of inner diameter of the cylinder to the wall thickness is less than 15, then the cylinder is called as thick walled cylinder or simply thick cylinder. Applications of thick cylinder. Thick cylinders are used in high pressure cylinders, tanks, gun barrels, etc. So this is the first way of classification of pressure vessel. Now second way is according to the end construction. So according to end construction, there are two types. First one is open end cylinders and second one is closed end cylinders. So first one is open end cylinders. Cylinder of internal combustion engine and steel pipes are examples of open end cylinders. So open end cylinder is simply nothing but the ends are open, just like a steel pipe, just like a cylinder of IC engine. And second type is closed end cylinder. So you can easily understand this. So closed end cylinders are those whose ends are closed one. For example, boilers, pressure vessel in chemical industries, LPG cylinders. All these applications consist of closed ends, and thus we can say that in the closed end cylinders, the ends are closed one. Now first we'll see the design of thin cylinders. As we have seen in the classification, there are two types based on dimensions. First one is the thin cylinder and second one is the thick cylinder. So first of all, we'll discuss the design of thin cylinders. Let us consider this diagram. Now this is a thin cylinder with internal diameter di and thickness t, which is subjected to internal pressure Pi. So thin cylinder subjected to internal pressure Pi. So this is the diagram of thin cylinder. Now once this thin cylinder is subjected to internal pressure, there are two modes of failures. That is, this pressure vessel may get fail into two ways. So first one is this is the first way in which the thin cylinder may get fail. Now here we can show the internal pressure applied on the inner surface of cylinder. Now just I have shown this internal pressure on half part. Similarly, we can show here also internal pressure. But just for the understanding, I have shown internal pressure on only half parts. Now this is the applied internal pressure on inner surface. Now if this is the applied pressure, there has to be some reactive stress, and that reactive stress will generate or will induce on this rectangular area. So on these two rectangular areas, the reactive stress will induce. So this is the reactive stress. So this is the applied pressure and this is the reactive stress, which resists the failure or deformation of this cylinder. And this resistive stress is nothing but the circumferential or tangential or Hooke stress. This stress is called as circumferential or tangential because the failure of cylinder takes place along circumference or tangential to this circumference. Now consider the second mode of failure of thin cylinder or pressure vessel. Now here the cylinder will fail along the length like this. Now here assume that these ends are closed one. So as these ends are closed one, the internal pressure which is applied here, that will act along the length. And it will try to increase the length of cylinder, and during this the cylinder may get fail like this. It will fail into two parts like this. So we can show the internal pressure applied on the closed end of cylinder. Similarly, here also we can show the applied pressure on the internal surface of closed end. So these two arrows shows the internal pressure applied internally on the closed end. Now if this is the applied pressure, there has to be some reactive stress, and that reactive stress will induce in this cross section. That reactive stress for half part can be shown like this, and this reactive stress is called as longitudinal stress. So these are the two basic modes of failures, and these are the corresponding stresses for corresponding modes. So now in the next part of this lecture, we are going to find out first the magnitude of circumferential or tangential or Hooke stress. So basically we are going to derive the equation for this tangential or Hooke stress. So consider these three diagrams. In the first diagram, the thin cylinder is subjected to internal pressure. The mode of failure, first mode of failure, and the detailed diagram of this first mode of failure, which shows the internal pressure Pi, which is getting applied on complete internal surface of cylinder. This is the reactive stress, and we know that this reactive stress is the tangential stress because this cylinder is getting failed tangentially or along the circumference. So that's why this stress sigma t is the circumferential or tangential stress. Its length is capital L and thickness is t, and internal diameter is di. So with these points, we'll derive the equation for tangential or circumferential stress. So first of all, consider one simple equation. Internal pressure Pi is given as force applied due to internal pressure upon projected area subjected to internal pressure. Now here force applied we can write as a F suffix applied and this projected area. Now consider this diagram. So here the pressure is applied on the complete internal surface of pressure vessel. Now if its internal diameter is di and length is capital L, then the projected area has to be di into L. So we can write this equation: Pi is equal to F applied upon di into L. So di into L is basically a projected area for this case. So from that equation we have to find out this F applied, that is applied force. So this equation becomes Pi into di into L, equation number 1. Now the same procedure we have to follow for this sigma t. So therefore sigma t is equal to reactive force upon resisting area. As this stress itself is a reactive stress, so therefore force is also a reactive force upon resisting area. Now here resistive force we can write as a F resistive and resisting area. Now look at the resisting area. So this hatched portion shows the resisting area and it is a rectangular. So there are two rectangular areas, one is here and another is here. So the first rectangular area can be given by L into T. So L into this T is the first rectangular area and second is also L into T. So total area becomes twice L into T. So we can write sigma T is equal to F reactive upon twice L into T. This L into T plus this L into T. So there are two rectangular areas and total area is twice L into T. So from this equation we can again find out the F reactive. So F reactive is equal to sigma T into twice L into T. So now we have calculated in the previous part F applied from the internal pressure, and now we have calculated F reactive from the reactive stress. But we know that applied force is always equal to reactive force. So therefore applied force from equation number 1 and 2 and reactive force from equation number 2 we can get. So applied force is Pi into di into L and reactive force is sigma T into twice L into T. So from this equation we can get the magnitude of or equation of sigma T. So sigma T is equal to Pi di upon twice T. And this is the equation for circumferential or tangential or Hooke stress. So basic idea behind this derivation is this: applied force is always equal to reactive force. Applied force we have calculated from internal pressure, so this is the applied force, and reactive force we have calculated from the stress, tangential stress, and its value magnitude is, or equation is this one. So by equating we can get the equation for tangential or circumferential stress. Now similarly we have to derive the equation for longitudinal stress. So this is the thin cylinder subjected to internal pressure. This is the second mode of failure along the length, and this is the detailed diagram where the applied pressure is shown and the reactive stress is shown. Now this diagram shows that the applied pressure on the closed end of cylinder. So this pressure is applied on the inner surface of closed end. Its internal diameter is di, and this is the reactive stress that is called as longitudinal stress. So it is applied on, or it is induced on this hatched portion. Its internal diameter is di and thickness is t. So with this data let us start the second part of derivation. So Pi, again it is given as force applied due to internal pressure upon projected area subjected to internal pressure. So here projected area for this pressure is nothing but the pi by 4 di square. So on this area the pressure is applied internally, so this area is pi by 4 di square. So this is the projected area for this internal pressure. So equation becomes F applied upon pi by 4 di square. So from this equation we can get the formula for equation for F applied, that is applied force. So Pi into pi by 4 di square. Right here equation number 1. Now similar to this we can find out the longitudinal stress. So longitudinal stress is equal to reactive force upon a resisting area. Now here reactive force we can write as a F reactive, corresponds to this longitudinal stress, and this resisting area. Now hatched portion shows here the resisting area, the area in which stress is induced, and this area is perimeter into thickness. So perimeter of this geometry is pi into di and thickness is t. So total resisting area is pi di into t. We can put this resisting area here. So sigma L becomes F reactive upon pi di into T. Take this denominator on LHS and get the value of F reactive. So therefore F reactive is equal to sigma L into pi di into T, equation number 2. So as we have done in the previous part, we have to equate here applied force is equal to reactive force, because these two values has to be equal. Action is equal to reaction. So applied force and reactive force, we have values, it's from equation number 1 and 2. So applied force is equal to reactive force. So applied force magnitude is pi upon pi by 4 di square from equation number 1, and reactive force we have from equation number 2, sigma L into pi di into T. So from this equation get the value of sigma L. Simplify this and get the equation for sigma L. So this is nothing but longitudinal stress equation. Now we can rearrange the terms from this sigma L. So we can write this sigma L equation like this: 1/2 into pi di upon twice t. We have split this denominator like this. Now this pi di upon twice t is nothing but the tangential or circumferential stress, that is sigma t. So we can put sigma t for this parameters, group of parameters. So sigma t is the tangential stress. So therefore sigma t is equal to twice into sigma L. Now this equation indicates the tangential stress sigma t is twice the longitudinal stress. So here the question is that which stress is more? So obviously from this equation we can say that the magnitude of tangential or circumferential stress is twice, that is this value of tangential stress is greater. So the chances of failure of thin cylinder are more due to tangential stress, not longitudinal stress. So therefore we can write this equation shows that the tangential or hoop stress is twice as that of longitudinal stress, and hence the chances of failure of thin cylinder are more due to the tangential stress and not due to longitudinal stress. So with this derivation, small derivation, the first part of this lecture is completed. So thanks for watching. If you have any query related to this particular lecture, you can mention in the comment section. So thank you.